Hi, I'm Jendella Benson. This is Shut Up and Write, a quick fire fiction craft writing workshop series that should hopefully leave you ready to actually stop talking and start writing. Now, if you want to know what qualifies me to talk about this, check back at episode 1 because we're going to get right into it. Okay, so we're talking about dialogue. I used to hate writing dialogue. I absolutely used to hate it. What changed? Essentially, I realized that dialogue can and needs to take on multiple tasks at once. It can reveal to us something about the character, it can advance the plot forward, vary the pace of the novel, or it can just give us some other information. Ideally, you want it to do more than one of those things at the same time, but the bottom line is that it's never just there for banter. It has to serve a purpose. When you realize this, writing dialogue gets a lot more fun, but do not get carried away. Most of the time, the reader does not need to be with the conversation from the first hello, unless there is something very significant in the way that the characters greet each other. You can just cut straight to the meat of the exchange. But the real challenge with writing dialogue for all of us writers is how do you make it sound realistic, but not too realistic? And if you eavesdrop on any conversations that are happening in the real world for research purposes, of course, you will understand a little bit about what I mean. When two human beings talk, it is rarely a nice and tidy exchange where someone monologues for 2 minutes and then the other person responds with a very succinct and direct answer. No, there's lots of false starts. There's stopping, there's stuttering, there's talking over each other, there's going off on tangents, people getting distracted or interrupted. Like, we never really speak like we're in like an Aaron Sorkin movie. Like, it just doesn't happen. It's messy, it's delicious, it's what makes it entertaining, but if you include too much of those elements, you will lose the readers. You are not transcribing a conversation for police evidence, neither are you writing a TV script. So how do you know when you've done too much? Ultimately, it's trial and error. You just have to keep writing and rewriting and rereading. And most importantly, and I'm really shocked that not more writers do this, you have to read your dialogue aloud to see how it sounds. Please, if you take nothing away from this episode, read your work aloud. I'm telling you, it will solve a lot of your problems. So one of the favorite bits of dialogue that I've written is in Hope and Glory. And Glory has just met up with Julian to update him about But Julian is actually in a bit of a mood and not happy with her about something. Now, how they confront and evade and misunderstand and talk around each other is really, really interesting to me. And I think it's an opportunity where the reader starts to twig some things about Glory's relationship that she hasn't quite realized herself. This is one of the times when dialogue was a perfect vehicle to drop those little nuggets. All right, so now for your homework. I want you to go out into the real world. You can be at the supermarket, you can be going to pick up your kids from after school club, you can be at a family gathering, and I want you to eavesdrop into a conversation that is happening around you. I want you to pay attention to how things are said, what things are not said, what's implied, all of those little ticks and nuances that come up in conversation. And then at a later date, because it'll probably look weird if you do it right there and then, I want you to try and translate that conversation as if it appears in a scene in a novel. How are you going to tidy it up? How are you going to cut through the fluff and get straight to the heart of the conversation? How are you going to tease out more intrigue, maybe by adding some things that weren't actually said in the original conversation? That's your homework. I'm going to shut up, you're going to go write. But if you want more exercises and more thoughts on writing dialogue, download the Shut Up and Write workbook from my website.